In the olden ages, because the kings used to be representatives of the Supreme Lord, and they would always take care of the welfare of the citizens. How would they take care of the welfare of the citizens? By ensuring that everyone is given an equal opportunity to serve Lord Vishnu and to become his devotee. And so therefore, all the citizens, they would understand the loving nature of the king. But with time, what has happened is, all the royal class of people, they have lost this sense of being the representatives of the Supreme Lord. And all the kings, they started thinking that my royal position is for my aggrandizement, my self-aggrandizement. I'll go and attack the nearby kingdom, increase my area of influence, let me make a bigger army, I should become more powerful. When the king started thinking like this in Kali Yuga, that was the downfall of monarchy. And that is how the monarchical system has practically become abolished. It cannot work in Kali Yuga because everyone is in the exploitative mode. It has been replaced with the more or less the democratic system. In some places still dictatorship exists, wherever communism and that kind of socialism and these kind of things exist. But otherwise, by and large, there is democracy in most of the places. Democracy, the concept of democracy is what? Concept of democracy is that a majority of the people choose who their leader is going to be. But actually, like all man-made systems, this is also just utopia. There is no meaning to this democracy system. Because if you look at India itself, everybody knows that if you get about 30% of the votes, 30 to 35% of the votes, you can capture power. So 30 to 35% is not majority, no. And that too, 30 to 35% of the votes means voting itself is only about 60 to 65%. That means 30 to 35% of 65%, if you take, hardly about 20% of the population is selecting who is going to be the leader of the country. So where is majority? Actually, there is no majority. In that sense, if you see, democracy is not working anywhere. And these people, because they are elected for a short period of time, 5 years, 4 years, whatever, they know they have got very little time in their hand. Nobody is thinking of any doing real good for the citizens. Their only thinking is that whatever the previous government did, let me dismantle everything and then let me bring in new things by which I can earn some money before I go out of power. In Uttar Pradesh, there are the elections are hotly contested, even at the panchayat level. There are elections at the panchayat level also. That means every village, they have panchayat elections and they have to elect the Gram Pradhan, who is going to be the head of the panchayat in the village. Very hotly contested. And sometimes people even murder the opponents so that they can come to power. Now, one media person went and interviewed one guy and asked him that what is your motivation in standing for this Gram Panchayat elections? He said, you see, it is very standard. Anybody who becomes a Gram Panchayat head, he becomes the Pradhan, he becomes the Gram Pradhan, he will get about 5-6 years of time. During that, the government will allot a lot of money for welfare activities in the village. And no matter how poor the guy is, once he has become a Pradhan, by the time he finishes his term, he would have built a Pakka RCC house for himself and he would have bought one Scorpio vehicle. So I also want to do the same thing. Aspiration to improve his standard of life. This is the motivation for the man to stand in the election. Now, this is not true only of Gram Pradhan. This is true even of MLAs, MPs, all of them. Their only thinking is, you look at all the election, during the election time, the people will they have to file their assets, how much money and assets they have in their possession. That's one of the declarations that all the candidates who are standing in the election, they have to give. All those people who stand in the election and win the election, after that you will see their wealth multiplies very nicely. And especially if they are part of the ruling party, then their wealth in 5 years will become 3 times, 4 times it will increase. And their assets will increase multifold, their land holdings, their profitability of their companies, everything will go up. So it is very clear, people's intention in becoming leaders in today's society is simply to be able to earn money. If there is a law that none of the politicians can hold any wealth and they cannot do any business, if that kind of law is brought in, then you will see practically 99% of the politicians will all resign and they'll say we are not interested in politics anymore. That's the reality. So the Bhagavatam is very, that way its prediction is coming true very, in a very correct way. Because the Bhagavatam says, Dassu Prayeshu Rajasu. At the cost of the citizens, the rulers are enjoying a luxurious life. This is the reality. And so naturally, the citizens also, they don't love their rulers. They elect them because they have got no other option. They have to go and put the votes. Every 5 years, they go and put the vote. The guy is elected. After 5 years, the people reject him. They call it anti-incumbency. What is this anti-incumbency? People have seen, okay, this fellow we gave a vote, he didn't do anything for us. Let us try somebody else. That guy also will not do anything, then they'll keep. So like this, they keep hopping around. And finally, the number of candidates, when it gets over, they'll come back to again the first guy. Let us give him one more try. So once again, that guy will become the CM for 5 years. After that, again, like this, the cycle goes on. So this is a very sad state of affairs, but this is the reality which is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We can see how the Bhagavatam is such a, the Vedic scriptures are free from all faults. They are able to predict how the future will go. In fact, it is stated in the Bhagavatam that Karapiditaha Janaha, that in Kali Yuga, as the time goes by, people will be taxed so heavily that the common mass of people will all run away from the cities and towns and they will go to the forest. That day will come soon.